Ahead for us on the Thursday Town Hall, solving the shortage. A new plan to get more drivers into school buses. We'll ask a key lawmaker about the proposal. Plus, staying warm at the game. Some of you have asked about wearing special heated clothing Saturday night. How the rules from the Bills and Highmark Stadium compare to the rest of the NFL. And we'll get the Patriots' perspective. A Boston reporter will handicap the wild card weekend matchup between New England and Buffalo. And we're glad you're here with us. Here on the Town Hall, we take the things that you are asking about straight to leaders to get answers. And in just a moment, we'll do just that with State Senator Tim Kennedy. He is chair of the Transportation Committee in Albany, so we'll ask him about potential help for that school bus driver shortage and infrastructure, also Bills Stadium negotiations. But we do want to start with a different topic, something that the senator proposed today and talked about. And it's something that we at Two on Your Side and our investigative partners at Investigative Post have been covering for more than 3 years. Those stories from IP and a later state comptroller's audit shed light on taxpayer money spent at the Western Regional OTB. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on suites at Bills and Sabres games, using concert and sports tickets personally instead of distributing them, and the CEO using an OTB car as his own without any reimbursement, exposing wild spending and little accountability. Could that be about to change? Senator Kennedy joins us now. He's a Democrat and represents Buffalo, Lackawanna, and Cheektowaga. Senator, we're glad you're here to start. Tell us what you're proposing to, essentially help clean up the OTB. Oh. Senator, are you able to hear me? All right, it does not appear so. Here's what we're going to do. As we stand by a moment, we'll try to work on that audio with the senator. I think we're going to go to a story that we have from our Verify team. Okay, Senator, can you hear me now?
I sure can.
All right. We had just a moment there, but it seems like it's been fixed. We kind of just set the scene for our viewers on what's been going on with OTB. Let's just start here, if you can, by telling us what you proposed today.
Sure. Well, in the fall, the state comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, put forward an audit, and it was really a scathing report of the misuse of marketing tools at these various OTBs, as well as a misuse of take-home vehicles, among other things. It's really a pattern of dysfunction and unaccountability that's happening at the OTBs here in the Western region. But really, it's a lack of responsiveness. This is not anything that's new. So we've proposed 3 major reforms, including a restructuring of the OTB to make sure that it's more accountable, transparent, and responsible to the taxpayers of the Western region that it represents. The first piece of legislation that we put forward ensures that those members of the OTB board have to follow the public officers law. And that means that they can't receive any gifts over $15. So, these tickets and marketing tools can't be handed out to friends and family and board members at will. There has to be accountability of those. And that's an important reform that we're advancing. Secondly, we're calling for an eradication of these take-home vehicles at the OTBs. There's no need for take-home vehicles at the OTBs, period. And there's been a misuse of those in the past. So this will resolve that once and for all. And thirdly, we are ensuring that accountability and transparency finally takes root at the OTB, a state agency that needs to be treated with the sort of accountability that taxpayers not only deserve, but they are clamoring for. And so this legislation, the third piece, will restructure the board to make sure that the board members are appointed by population, just as the funds are dispersed by population, rather than by politics. And so we're looking forward to advancing these 3 pieces of legislation, and hopefully we can get them across the finish line in short order.
Senator Kennedy, we mentioned our partners at Investigative Post have been covering this extensively for years, like no other journalists in the state. We asked IP's Phil Gambini about your proposal. Listen to what he told us today.
The big issue that's not addressed by this legislation is the health insurance, the deluxe gold-plated plan that board members receive for what amounts to part-time work, just 4 or 5 hours of work any given month. they're receiving a Cadillac health package. That is not addressed in this legislation, despite the fact that the comptroller and the AG's office have previously ruled that board members should not be receiving that health insurance.
So, Senator, clearly what you're talking about here is significant, those three pieces that you broke down. Should health insurance also be looked at?
Well, look, it's certainly something we can look at. First things first, I believe that these three pieces of legislation are major reforms that will actually reset the Western Region OTB to make it more accountable, to make it more transparent. Of course, all of those benefits are things that we can look at in the future as part of other legislation. This is a great starting point and will create that accountability that taxpayers deserve.
We want to switch topics. You being the transportation chair, a lot of questions related to that. We heard from the governor yesterday that the DOT is now working on a plan to let third parties certify people with CDLs to try to, deal with this shortage of school bus drivers and also truck drivers. What do you think about the plan there, and how quickly do you think we can see action? Because, we hear from parents this driver shortage is real.
Well, look, I was thrilled to hear the governor's commitment to addressing the truck driver shortage. There is a truck driver and bus driver shortage, the shortage of CDL Class A licenses across the board and across the country, really. There's a shortage of CDL Class A licenses and those that are ready to drive trucks with that license across the country to the tune of 80,000 drivers, thousands here in the state of New York. The industry supports 1 in 27 jobs across this entire state. The shortage of drivers has an impact on our supply chain as well. So the fact that the governor has made this a priority was music to my ears. We're looking forward to working with her and her transportation department and DMV to advance this legislation and these initiatives in short order. I believe that we're really going to learn a lot more of her vision and the vision of her administration on January 26th, where she's called for a public hearing. We will be a part of that, and looking forward to advancing this. This is complementary to what the governor just signed into law, a bill that I passed just last year that actually advances the age to which an individual can get that driver's license, a Class A CDL, to 18 years old. Before it was only 21 years of age. So, kids would graduate from high school and go into different careers or different walks of life, and they never saw the truck driving industry, which is a very lucrative industry, as an option for them because they had to wait 3 years out of high school or early college. So what we did is we really are transforming the playing field for those that want to go into a new career in the trucking industry. And certainly by advancing the ability for someone to get a Class A driver's license, no matter what the age, it's going to help not only with the supply chain, but it's also going to help alleviate those school bus driver shortages that we're seeing across the state as well.
So you say that hearing is on the 26th. Between now and then, we're going to get the governor's proposed budget. We believe that is this coming Tuesday. When people hear that, their ears perk up because we believe the new Bill Stadium proposal, a lot of money is going to be in there for that. What do you expect, and what would you like to see in terms of a dollar figure?
Well, I was very excited to hear in the State of the State, the governor's vision for the future. I thought she was right on point. And the beautiful thing about it is she doesn't need on-the-job training and learning about Buffalo. She's one of us. She knows the needs of Buffalo, Western New York, and upstate like no other governor before her, back to 135 years ago. And she's a historic figure, the first female governor in the history of New York State. And so, in her State of the State, she outlined a number of initiatives that I'm looking forward to seeing more detail on in the budget. As a transportation chair, I'm looking forward to seeing what she has for our infrastructure. She highlighted the 33 expressway that we've been dealing with the Restore Our Community Coalition for many years. Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Mayor Byron Brown, myself, Congressman Higgins. We've galvanized our support from a local community and really been clamoring for this sort of attention. Governor Hochul has made it a priority to address the 33. The local road roads that need to be addressed. She talked about putting in another $1 billion into both the Pave New York and the Bridge New York program. There's 7,300 lane miles in New York State that are considered in poor condition, over 1,700 bridges that are considered in poor condition. So we need a real influx of funding for our roads and our bridges and other infrastructure needs. And, when we're talking about infrastructure, we think about how we plan for the future. The governor talked about a 5-year capital plan. We're talking about billions of dollars that have been secured from the federal government, along with complements from the state government, that's going to put that funding right into our local community. The governor also talked about workforce development. The healthcare workers that have been on the front lines in our hospitals and our nursing homes through this pandemic have really been strangled with the amount of work that they've had to do and the amount of people that they've had to deal with. So the fact that the governor has proposed putting $10 billion into the healthcare workforce, both in those that are active as well as educating the next generation of healthcare practitioners, was something that I was really excited about. And the focus on childcare. We want to make sure that people don't need to make a decision whether to go to work or whether to stay home because they can't afford childcare. So the focus on childcare is going to be a main priority of ours moving forward, among many, many other things that we can talk about.
Yeah, and Senator, I was going to ask you about infrastructure to end here, but you kind of just touched on that. So I want to go back to the last question, though, about the Bills Stadium. What do you want to see there in terms of a dollar figure? We think we're going to learn that on Tuesday.
Yeah, look, we're going to learn a lot on Tuesday, I believe, and I think the Bills Stadium will most likely be part of it from everything that we're hearing. The negotiations have continued. We're talking, $1 billion to $1.5 billion stadium, but it's going to support the fabric of our community, the Buffalo Bills, and we recognize now more than ever with the Bills game coming up this Saturday night, that's important that we keep them here. So I think top priority is keeping the Bills in Buffalo. Those negotiations have continued in earnest. I'm looking forward to what the governor proposes. I can tell you today I was very excited to see what the governor did with her leadership and the leadership of the Seneca Nation, President Pagels, in announcing a real historic announcement where not only are we going to be able to see that money flowing back to communities like Buffalo, Salamanca, and Niagara Falls that have hosted the casinos, but an extension of the compact to look forward to secure those 3,000 plus jobs that they support. So there's a lot going on, and we're proud to be a part of it.
All right, State Senator Tim Kennedy, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your views. Good to see you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Michael.
All right.